Einen wunderschönen guten Abend. Ladies and Gentlemen, ja? Können wir alle reinschicken? Gut, okay. So, wenn ihr möchtet, kann es losgehen. Wir fangen ein bisschen früher an, aber ich hoffe, das ist okay für euch. So, das ist ganz klar. In die ersten Reihen zum Mitmachen. So, Alexander ist eingetroffen. Er hätte gesagt, ich sollte noch auf ihn warten. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to apologize for the small delay, but you are used to some delays when you are traveling around the world, and what you know is there is also always a positive side on these kind of things. That means there is always a kind of compensation, and so therefore that we started a little bit delayed. Our compensation will be this. Be prepared that directly after the keynote we will have some beautiful hot pizza for everybody. That's for the delay. We're so sorry. Yes, and for all of those who are watching us right now on YouTube, yeah, such a shame. Last time we will have pizza also without delay, so a good idea to come to this live event. I would like to welcome everybody of you. We're very proud to be the host of the official TYPO3 release, and what can I say as an introduction? I had a deep talk together with the developers from TYPO3, and he promised me you can be very excited because right now in a few minutes we will release the best TYPO3 ever. It's like the iPhone. And I have to talk in English because our keynote speaker is a well-known person in the technological world. And yes, please welcome on stage, first time in Europe, live here on stage, Benni Mack.
So let's see if that works. So I'm Benni Mack. I'm actually not from Hamburg, but thanks for the invitation. And I speak in English because apparently it's streaming around the world, and so people understand me, hopefully you as well, here in the room. You know, this is a really big room. I mean, I don't know, 500 people. So you really need to come to Hamburg next time. So yes. Today, actually, we won't release version 13 of TYPO3 because I've done this on the train right here, actually. So this morning we released version 13, and today before we have the pizza, I want to tell you all about the new version. However, we won't make it in time for the pizza. That's why we cut it a bit short to only get you the cool, not only the cool stuff, but some of the highlights. Let's put it this way. Yes, so today we have a new LTS version, and LTS means we have a long-term support version. This version, use it for all the new projects, upgrade to this version for all your existing projects, because starting today we have more than 3 years of free maintenance and security and important bug fixes, and that's until December 31st, 2027, so this will be a long time. And then there will be ELTS, extended LTS, for another up to 4 years, and that means up until 2031. And of course, 2031, you can use this version, but hopefully you will upgrade it to version 14, 15, 16, 17, whatever we're going to do. For now, this is the best we can do. We have up to more than 7 years of maintenance. We've actually, I announced this a couple of months ago. Instead of having 3 years of free maintenance, we actually extended it until end of December. So it's more than 3 years, so you have a more overlap to update from one LTS to the next version. And then if you don't have the time for it, get your ELTS. But I mentioned there will be another LTS version. But since the last one, version 12, there were quite some numbers, and numbers are always great. So we had 203 contributors, random people around the world, who added patches to the core, and we had more than 3,300 patches. But of course, there's so much more than just the patches, because we have so many people who do documentation that's not going to go into the product. Examples, concepts for how a redesign of a backend looks like, things that didn't go into the version but maybe in the next version. So there's so many things in the pipelines, but the last 18 months were like this, and we have even bigger numbers. And the cool thing about this number, I personally like that, is that we changed quite some files, and just in these 18 months we had almost 500,000 files that we got rid of, and we added more new files or new lines of code. So you can imagine it's not just like getting something out and back again. It's actually getting something out and getting some new stuff in. So it's actually, we've changed more than 500,000 lines with new cool things in TYPO3. So let's have a closer look to everything. First, the most important thing, you need to upgrade PHP to version 8.2. Shouldn't be a big deal, because there's nothing problematic between 8.1, that was version 12, and PHP version 8.2. This way we could also upgrade to Symfony 7. And the cool thing is you can of course use PHP version 8.3, 8.4 if you're up for it. And I do think we have a typo, because version 8.2 will have quite some time for security updates. If you run with whatever SUSE Linux, you can have more than this number for PHP. One thing that I'm really proud of is there's one guy, we've seen all these contributors, there's one guy from the contributors, Stefan, and he's currently watching, I think. And he made some really huge improvements to our library to access the database. We use Doctrine DBAL. It's the database abstraction layer, and it's free, it's open source, and there's some people around the world who, like just a few people, who actually work on this library. And Stefan actually contributed to this library and added some features that we're utilizing now, and had quite some influence to Doctrine DBAL version 4, which we now use. It's really cool. So it also shows we don't just look at our project, but we actually care to the ones that actually support us, because we don't have to deal with this. All of us don't have to deal with the database abstraction layer because Doctrine is actually taking care of that. So version 13 was a good start because we got rid of all the things we deprecated in version 12, of course. But you're not here because of this information, because you're here because you want to know what's new, why is it the best version ever. So I think like a year ago, I thought two things are really important, as an overarching goal. And the one is that we want to add functionality to TYPO3 that makes the life for the backend users better. And the other thing is that we have things that we do over and over again in projects, which we want to make easier and faster, so you have repetitive tasks, which makes it actually easier to set up a new project. And we're going to look at these two things. First, we'll start with one thing. Actually, looks simple, but we made it possible to have the whole TYPO3 backend. We have 60 languages out of the box, including some right-to-left languages, but we had a problem because not the whole system was able to render right-to-left. Now, we have one guy who understands Arabic, who translated the whole backend into Arabic and said, now everybody in Arab-speaking countries can actually use TYPO3. And I think that's really impressive because I've been using TYPO3 for more than 20 years and I never thought we could make this actually happen. So that's really cool. But in order to achieve that, we had to tackle a lot of things. The rich text editor, which we exchanged in version 12 and these kind of things. But in order to achieve that, we also needed to look at the whole backend to make it more accessible. And to make it accessible, the developers would say we introduce the dark mode, but actually, in order to have the dark mode available, we needed to go through all of the component, each component we use in the TYPO3 backend, like tables, buttons, and make them not just dark mode aware, but also look at the accessibility to get a more accessible rating. We now have an automatic checker to see if the backend is, or most parts of the backend are accessible. And for the dark mode people, I will demo this in a second. You can switch between dark mode and light mode, and also between the classic theme that we all know for, 7 versions, and a modern theme. And one major part was to rewrite the page tree again, but not like the page tree in the whole thing, but actually just the UI, because we used SVG rendering. And what we now we're able to do is actually to rewrite everything with pure HTML. Like 10 years ago or 5 years ago, this wasn't possible to have it really fast. That's why we chose SVG. Now, if you have SVG rendering, you still have problems with, like, let's say, a website that has 10,000, 50,000 pages. With the HTML rendering, this is now really fast. And in addition, we added some things that are really helpers for integrators or developers or editors to mark certain pages. You can also add additional information and icons. Here we have the TYPO3 icon, and add some information to a page without actually selecting it, etc. So the page tree is actually more capable of being customizable. Okay, there was some details, some quick look into the editor interface. One other thing that's kind of big, but only once you start using it, is the site sets feature. Site sets is, first of all, an API to define a certain list of settings. You have like imagine you have CSS settings, you have TypoScript settings, you have site settings, and you put them all together in one place. And you say, okay, for my website, I create a site set. And this site set actually needs the site set from the form framework and from fluid style content and maybe from the Bootstrap package and from news. And this I bundle all together in my site set. But then you can customize all the configuration options from these extensions in one place. And once you created your site and the dependencies, it resolves automatically. So you don't have to worry about your TypoScript inclusions as an integrator. You don't have to worry about, oh, I need to do this in one place and this in the other place. This I have to do in the database, this somewhere else. Oh, now my TypoScript is included twice. Oh, I need to take care of the loading order. This kind of stuff is all gone because now you only have your base extension, whatever you have in your company agency, and you just put a folder sets, and you give the set a name, set for Acme agency, and there you can define your tsconfig, TypoScript, some information for that, for the site settings. You will see that in a moment, and some new settings API, which I will show you in a second. And imagine you do that once, and then you reuse this in all of your projects. Or if you have just one project, you can actually use this in different page trees. I will show this to you in a second. So in your site configuration, you can actually choose between the site sets. You can say, okay, I need the Bootstrap package, I need the front-end login, or the SEO sitemap, and include the default settings there. It's quite useful. Yeah, you can actually switch between Bootstrap package and fluid style content. Bootstrap package was released, I think, yesterday for version 13, including all the sets. So Bootstrap package has, I would say, 18 different sets that you can plug and play within for your site. Oh, for my website, I need the slider and the carousel, but not the image gallery, for instance. And Bootstrap package actually provides you with these components which you can plug and play. You can actually create your own toolbox for your agency and plug and play that for your website. Because most of the stuff is the same, but some things are different, and that's why we have a new module. It's the site settings module. The YAML file, everything that I showed you, actually renders you this UI. And you have to imagine this is like TypoScript constants, but in good. Imagine TypoScript constants were built, I don't know, more than 20 years ago. And we've dragged this along, and it had a lot of problems, and we tried to overcome them. But the site settings actually, and the site set concept is the successor to that. You can still, of course, use constants if you want to, but the site settings are written into a file. They're all in one place. You actually have a nicer module which you can search through. All the values can be validated. You can extend this. The syntax for creating your own settings is much easier. So that's why the core actually migrated the SEO stuff to the site settings. And you configure them for the whole site. The bad thing about, or not the bad thing, but one of the drawbacks about the TypoScript constants is that it's only available in the front end. And it's always just strings. And with the whole site settings, you can actually say, that's a page ID, that's a string, that's from a drop-down, one of the 5 values, and you can validate this kind of stuff. This might seem like okay, but I will give you a few examples in just a second, because this is the basis for something that we kickstarted. There was this surf camp, a camp with 30 people who just had 6 projects and 6 websites to build. And actually, they created some default websites that you actually can download and play around with it. And it's exactly that. You combine, let's say I want to create a website for a restaurant. And what does this website need? Well, basically, it's always the same. I need the menu, I need the contact information, the opening hours, whatever. This can be defined once and then componentized componentized, whatever, into single parts, and you can actually you see what you need. Plus, as I mentioned before, you can actually also use that for customizing the layout. So we had three examples. We created a website for a soccer club, for a developer, a portfolio website. We had a couple of more, and I just quickly want to show you something in action. And that is the, let's see, that is the landing pages thing, or landing pages project. So what we have is, we have a website that has multiple landing pages, like, oh, I need a career landing page, I need a white paper download landing page, where you just need to enter your stuff and you get a download link. You want to launch your product. In this case, we had surfboards, of course. So you have a gallery. And this was all done within 1 week during this surf camp. And of course, this looks similar to you, but or like nothing special, you would say. But imagine you just want to change the colors, the fonts, whatever. And this is now all done in the site sets. So let's take the product launch. You can actually just change the company. You can switch to dark mode only. You change the radius of the icons and everything. You can actually change the image rotation. Let's take 20 degrees. Let's see if that works. We had some images somewhere like this. See, it just changes. And you don't need to change anything in the HTML. You don't need to change anything else. You just customize these settings. They're written into one file, and you can actually make this deployable or whatever you want to do with it. And that's basically the result, because in one way, it's you start or you upgrade, or you take a new website and define what you want to customize, and that's it. All right. So much for site sets. One other thing that I think is really cool, TYPO3 now supports the new or the modern image standards or image formats, WebP and AVIF. And one other thing, like out of the box, you don't need to install an extension for that anymore. And one other thing that I think is quite cool, if you previously had an image and you actually, and it was an SVG, that means you can scale it up, it's still crisp, sharp, you want to rotate, you want to crop something. Previously, if you've done this like this, and it was an SVG, TYPO3 generated a JPEG or a PNG out of it. So that's kind of like, meh. And now we actually build it in a way that it takes the SVG and keeps the original file. It doesn't modify the original file, but actually just cuts out the right point, and we don't. We only have a different URL, but we don't need to generate an image through ImageMagick or whatever, because we just keep the SVG, and it's technical. You basically change the box, whatever thing. So I think it's really cool, because it actually means we have less files on our system, and we actually fully utilize SVGs. Okay, so I've talked a lot of things. There's no pizza yet, but it wasn't me who did all of this. Some things I did, but most of this somebody else did. And today we have the chance, with these 500 people here, to actually also have other people talk about what they achieved. And so the first person is Nikita, who talks about one other thing that makes our life easier with TYPO3 version 13.
Hello. Yeah, hello. I'm Nikita. I'm the guy who's responsible for the content blocks code part. and I can proudly announce today we released content blocks 1.0. Well, it started a long time ago, actually before my time. I joined the content blocks team 2.5 years ago, but they started to the concept and everything around it, I don't know, maybe 6 or 7 even years ago. And when I joined them, I said to them, hey, I'm the maintainer of the mask extension, and actually we are doing the same thing, so let's work together to achieve the goal of something stable, an extension where people can rely on and is official. So we started with development almost 2 years ago. At that time it was just a core patch, but it became apparent this doesn't really work because nobody's reviewing it and nobody can try it out. So then we switched to GitHub and created an extension. And yeah, we started with version 0.1, and this became the ignition part. So people started downloading it, using it, and we got so much feedback, and we had so much time to figure out what is this extension about, what do people need, and make this extension really the best of all worlds. Like all my experience from Mask went into this, and all the good concepts of content blocks. Yeah, actually I'm reading this the first time. So integration strategy, okay. Yeah, so our plan was so first we wanted to make one big patch into the core, like one system extension, and bring all this in one. But this, it became apparent it isn't so easy. Hello. This wasn't such an easy task, so we split this into smaller patches. So we cherry-picked all the good parts which we developed for the version 12 and brought them into the core. Thanks to the core team who supported us. And one of these things is the schema RP for accessing TCA, which is a big part of this, and also the record API, which is an API for database records, like object-oriented mode style in programming, and so much more, like defining system fields is automatically done in core. This is a feature which we already had in content blocks, and we just could remove it after this. Yeah. And this is what it's about. Like all in all, I think we could remove 1/3 of all the content blocks code because it went into the core. So yeah, we could say it's a partly integrated now. It isn't like a big extension, a system extension, but it's integrated into the core, and we are still working on integrating more parts into the core. So this, it's a long journey. In version 14, this will continue. And yeah, like we also eased so you don't rely on fluid style content anymore. So you can use content blocks without fluid style content, but you can also use it with it. So it's up to you. And yeah, this one feature, automatically show content types in new content element wizard, is also a very important feature. Like you used to have so many parts which you needed to define for content elements. And one of this was tsconfig for the new content element wizard. And this is now done with TCA as basis. So you just define one group where your type should be in, and it will display it in the wizard and also in the edit view of the record, in the record selector. Yeah, further development. So right now we have an extension. It's called content underscore blocks, and the composer name is it changed now. it used to be content blocks / content minus blocks, and now it's friends of TYPO3 / content minus blocks. So everyone who's using content blocks already, please switch to the new name. The other one is deprecated now. Yeah, as I said, we massively slimmed down our extension by 1/3 of the code. It's available as a beta version, which will be not further developed, so it stays as it is. And we will develop further the 1.0 version for TYPO3 V13. And yeah, one important feature which didn't make it yet is the GUI. My team is working on it, so in the near future you will also have, like in the math extension, a GUI for creating new content types, which is a very important feature, of course. And yeah, we will maintain it further, now with a core team as support, I hope. It isn't an extension like one person, and you rely on that one person to maintain it. This is one crucial part of everything. Yeah, we have a big team behind this extension now, and yeah. And at this point, a big shout out to my team, Andre, Manuel, Philip, Jonas, and Phil, who supported me and heard me out on my crazy ideas, and all the 2 years, like we had calls every 2 weeks. Yeah, and big thanks to them. Big thanks to the core team who supported us with the integration part. And special thanks to Liddy. Maybe you're watching this. You did an important part of this. So many talks at developer days and to spread content blocks into the world. Big thanks to you. Thank you.
Thanks. So we have, of course, more prominent people here. So we have Simon, who actually created more stuff in our templating engine, which is called Fluid. I hope everybody knows that. And maybe you can give us a quick overview what happened in the last year for us in version 13.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, so maybe some of you have already noticed this. With version 13 of TYPO3, there also ships a new Fluid major version. We didn't have that in a long time. So the last major version 2.0 was shipped in 2016. So there were a lot of years in between that. And we have been hard at work mainly this year on the new version. First of all, I would call it the no panic, don't panic release, because it doesn't really break anything. It is only, it has a few more features, and we focused on improving the code, the underlying code, but it doesn't break your templates, so nothing to worry about. But we did introduce some deprecations you might want to look at. Talking about features, first of all, the F comment tag now works as you would expect. It ignores every Fluid syntax error in between the comment tags, so that makes life much easier. It also supports Boolean arguments for tag-based view helpers. So this is also a big improvement, and it was quite a hassle before then. If you wanted to, for example, add a required attribute to a tag, this wasn't very easy before. Then there are a lot of new view helpers. Some of them are also available in Fluid 2. So we backported a lot of this stuff. So you can also use it in your TYPO3 12 or even 11 projects if you use the latest Fluid version. Yeah, and as I said, the main thing was code cleanup, and we plan to continue this with the next major version, version 5. We don't really know when it will be ready. We haven't really started working on it, but we are committed to keep on working on the template engine TYPO3 uses and improve much more stuff under the hood. Yeah, this was about Fluid. Thank you.
Thank you, Simon. So we have another person, Christian. How many features did go into version 13? Yeah, roughly. You had a number? 200 something. So we could go on for a couple of hours with 200 changes. So I'll just pick a few ones. So hopefully for some of you, or for each of you, there's an additional gem in it. So first, there's the form module, which now includes a search and some other additions. But if you have worked with, let's say, 100 different forms, it would be really cool to finally we got the pagination, and now we have a form, a search. That's quite helpful. So I think that's good. Then we have a lot of changes for editors and admins in the UI. The redirects backend module has a couple of new filter options. The backend search actually, which is completely usable through the keyboard, actually allows you to jump to a module, then you can jump to the page tree, and then you can jump to editing something directly. So you can do much more with the backend search. You can actually hook into the search and do your own thing. You have a more prominent possibility to mass edit things. I commonly want to change, height in menu for a couple of pages. So it's quite easy to do that with the list module. You can also do that for files or any database records you have in the list or file list module. We have a permission management improvement, and because I'll just demo this quickly because I really like this change. If you ever had to manage and click through the groups, we don't have a group here. Like this. You now have table permissions and say, okay, this group can actually read-write pages, but only read categories, and you can now go through that in a more understandable way on how actually people would use it, and not like 20 years ago. So I think that's quite good. So that's the permission management. We also have, with the new page tree, we finally can do, because it's HTML, we can use native drag and drop from the page module. Like within a page module, you can rearrange content. You can actually move it to a different page with drag and drop. I don't know how accessible this is, but it's, I think, quite cool to do that. And then, some small things, like if you ever have a YouTube preview image, because you included YouTube video, and you change something within YouTube, you can actually update the preview images out of the box now. Previously, you had to use an extension. So much for the editors and admins. But developers also have a new content object in TypoScript. Basically, we try to reduce that you have to write so much TypoScript. And that's why we have a new TypoScript content object that's called page view, and it does a lot of things for you. It loads the content from the page automatically. It resolves paths automatically for you, and it uses the record API from content blocks, but you can actually use it for any kind of record. So it's something very complex, not very complex, but we need more time to explain it. But I recommend you to check it out. And if you ever had to use indexed search, we cleaned it up. We have a regular pagination like everything else, like news. We have removed quite some options that doesn't make sense anymore. I don't know if you ever used, quick example is if you've ever wanted to search a website with 18 languages and you want to search for something in all 18 languages. It just doesn't make sense anymore. You search something in German and it's German or French, then you want the French results. So we had some options like this and we just got rid of them. It's breaking, but I think for the better. And if you've ever used XBase and you wanted to upload some files and validate them, this is now also supported out of the box and much easier. And of course, I think we've replaced, we've added over 30 new events, PR 14 events in PHP to get rid of our hooks system. Then I also have something. I did not manage to demo this to you, but you can actually change the backend URL. I can. You see, you always have. Oh, you know, I know how to log into the backend. By the way, this is how you switch to dark mode. Or if you want to use auto detect, that means if your system changes because it's dark, then TYPO3 is also in the dark mode. You can actually change this part of the URL now. And let's see if my local setup works. My local setup is WP admin. Nice hint. So you can just change it to whatever you want. You can actually use it for, so of course it's funny now, but if you think in a broader enterprise perspective, you want your backend to run on a subdomain, and which is not accessible to everyone. You can actually use this for a subdomain and just say, okay, benny.workbench.test, this is my backend URL. And you can actually separate front-end and backend for the users much more logically. All right. So what else? We had also some other goodies, which you might think it's kind of okay-ish. It's not written down here, but if you've ever used TYPO3 and think, okay, I've run through all the upgrade wizards, why do I need the extension manager or the install tool because my system is running in production? You can now uninstall that in production. You don't need the install tool and the extension manager anymore. That makes it maybe harder to debug if something goes wrong, but it's also harder to hack into the system if there's an issue in extension manager or install tool, and I think that's quite good that we actually have a better separation of concern. And last but not least, as with every TYPO3 version, we made the front end faster. I can't show you numbers, but actually the whole front end rendering was improved because of this whole doctrine stuff. We actually use smarter SQL queries. We don't need a root line cache anymore because we do this in a SQL right away. And for the front end, we also have a new cache tag API. And this is something that was possible, kind of hackish in a way before. But imagine you have a page with that you can cache for a day, but then you have a news slider which you can cache for 5 minutes, but only if there's a top news in it. Then because of this news, you want to have it for 5 minutes cached, but otherwise for an hour. You can customize this based on the records you render, on the content types you render. And this is now possible, of course, for the developers. For the more experienced developers, the cache tag API when rendering. And of course, a lot of other cool features, and that's why I think you need to try it out yourself. You can use one of the SurfCamp packages. There's also, if you're in the live stream, I think the moderator is going to send you some links. So everybody here, the 500 people, can also check the live stream about the SurfCamp results. The portfolio thing is an extension you can install in your project or set up for yourself. So do that if you're up for some cool things and you're sitting somewhere on your own or in a group, try it out. Or if you're here, get some pizza, and I hope you're now ready for version 13 and upgrade very, very soon. It's, like Sven said, the best version that we had ever so far. So thanks for listening, and I hope you enjoyed it. Bye-bye at home, and let's have pizza now. Thanks. I hope it's there. Just jetzt können wir wieder Deutsch reden. Sollen wir alle da hinten?